Irrelevant cunt. Good evening, good morning, and good day. And thank you so much for once again choosing to spend a little bit of your time with me. In the news today, we look at the face of true, ugly, disgusting, withered, haggard, miserable evil in the form of the Australia wildfires and more. To start the day with some lighter news, we have a look at Burger King, who have released a plant-based burger that isn't for vegans. No, the thing with this burger is they're grilling it on the exact same irons and flatbeds as they use for the regular burgers, so it gets that delicious char-grilled taste, but it's still using the same oil and on the same surfaces and the same utensils, so it's definitely not for vegans. A spokesperson from Burger King has announced that the reason they're doing this is for the flexitarians out there who are craving a plant-based alternative, but with that delicious flame-grilled taste. What I will say, if you're eating this burger to save the planet, you're a fucking idiot. The burger is made out of soybeans. Soybeans are produced mainly in China and Thailand and the Philippines, and that's a minimum of about 14,000 air miles in order to get that soy from there to the UK. Just go to, I don't know, Waitrose, buy yourself some minced beef from there, or your local butchers, get some minced beef from there, make your own burgers, and then you know where they're from, probably about 5 miles down the road. So I've been planning for a while a video about veganism and how, whilst it is a pure ideology in what it wants for the world, it's incredibly misguided, and vegans are currently on the course of annihilating the planet. A perfect example of this being something like almond milk, which, ignoring the sheer quantity of water required to grow a single almond and produce a single litre of this so-called almond milk. I would also like to point out that, where's the teat? Where are you getting milk from a nut? Doesn't work. My biggest issue with something like almond milk is if you're purchasing it in the UK from a company like Alpro, there is a minimum of 24,000 air miles required to create that single bottle of almond milk you're drinking. It's disgusting. It's basically just sugar water anyway with a little bit of flavouring, but the ingredients required to produce it take more than 24,000 air miles to get to the factory where they're then assembled and turned into this so-called nut milk. Famed and beloved singer Adele has sparked outrage around the world with her fan base because she's lost weight. Yes, people are pissed off at her for going to the gym and changing her life. How entitled are people these days? Objectively speaking, I think this version of Adele looks a lot better than this version of Adele. You can disagree with me if you like, and that ultimately comes down to your kinks and fetishes, basically. But objectively speaking, one of them looks much healthier and happier and like they're going to live a longer, more enjoyable life with their children, which is what they want. Leave them alone for making positive changes to both their physical and mental health. You entitled pieces of shit. Looks old and haggard, one person cruelly commented, while another said, skinnier yes, healthier no, looks tired and old. Some even speculated the star had weight loss surgery, saying, 2 words, gastric bypass. No, just because you don't have the willpower to make changes like that to your life doesn't mean other people don't. I think Adele was more attractive and sexy with her curves. She doesn't give a fuck, probably, what you fucking think about her, while she's on holiday all around the world, banging Harry Styles now, one of the most desired men in the world, fucking banging Harry Styles on holiday in the sun with her millions. I don't think she gives a fuck what you think about her appearance, mate. As you can probably hear. All of the edits in this video are from me coughing. As you can probably hear, my throat is knackered. I should go to the doctors about that and try and do something about that, I think. Now, in this news article, I would like to look at somebody who has been known worldwide as an internet sensation. The human Ken doll, or Rodrigo Alves, now actually goes by the name of Roddy, is, well, what can I say about them? Absolute internet legend. They've always come across as being incredibly mentally unwell, to put it simply. Somebody who has been mistreated by countless doctors, misguided and misled when they should have been given psychiatry and psychiatric treatment and help for their clear, numerous mental illnesses. They've instead just been fobbed off, robbed, and cut open and barbarized by people that can only be described as butchers. Anyway, Roddy has now announced they are a woman. They are transgender. And I watched the whole sort of like coming out video on this morning, and Holly and Phil, to their credit, are just so as like genuinely endearing as well. They're lovely people when they come across that way, very strongly in a lot of their work, and they have a lot of empathy and compassion with how they talk to them, because I just feel fucking awful for Roddy. I feel terrible for them. Absolutely terrible for them. The amount of surgeries done to them. They barely have a nose. They have no shape to their face left anymore. And he speaks of this in the interview. He for years felt like a girl, and because of his hyper-Catholic upbringing in Brazil, he instead looked towards becoming this hyper-masculine figure to try and quench these feelings of being a woman, which now in his 30s, he does regret. He had surgery to give himself fake abs. He had his entire chin sculpted and carved. There's barely a piece of the man's bone left in his fucking skull. They've spent more than £600,000 on these absolute monsters, letting them cut them up. And the problem with it is they clearly have an addiction, because they speak of this in the interview. She wishes to have more plastic surgery. They'll have their breasts enlarged for voice surgery, so they have a more female voice, and in a year, full gender reassignment surgery. And I am just so scared for this person. I am really scared that this will end up being a regret as well, because they weren't given the psychiatric treatment they needed. They don't need more surgery. They just need help. Now in our main segment for today, we have a look at the disturbing facts that it turns out there was an ultimate betrayal. RFS volunteers charged with starting 7 bushfires. A rural fire service volunteer has been arrested and charged with lighting a series of bushfires on the state's far south coast. 7 fires have been deliberately lit in the Bega Valley area over the last 5 weeks. The Financial Crime Squad Arson Unit have been investigating the fires in conjunction with RFS fire investigators and local police. At about 5:20 p.m. on Tuesday, officers observed the man sitting in a dual cab next to the Bega River. Shortly afterwards, investigators noticed smoke and a pile of trees and grasses on fire. Later that night, police attended a fire shed at Tarraganda and arrested a 19-year-old man. He's alleged to have lit the fire and left the area before returning to his role as a volunteer RFS firefighter. The man's vehicle has been seized for forensic examination, with police alleging he is responsible for 7 different blazes in recent weeks. With all the tragedy, with all the heartbreak, with all the loss of life, the loss of land, the loss of animal life, more than 500,000 animals dead, koalas facing an extinction level event, and there are scumbags doing this. This makes no sense. Global warming is bad enough, and I know some of you may disagree with this, certain relatives of mine. Looking at you, bro. But I don't. I'm personally with people like Greta Thunberg. I completely stand with her. I find it crazy that it's taken the world, a fucking prepubescent child, for them to listen and wake up and actually do something. But I am very happy she's come along and opened eyes, because too many of you are stupid. With all this going on, some of you aren't just stupid, you're actually pure evil. Nothing else. You are pure indiscriminate, remorseless, disgusting fucking evil. What we know so far of the Australia bushfires, 130... Jesus Christ. 130 fires, 14 million acres burned, 25 people killed, and 2,000 homes destroyed, and over 500,000 animal lives lost. Of the 80,000 wild koalas still remaining in Australia, it's estimated that around 25,000 of them may have lost their lives. Koalas, experts believe that within the next few years, koalas will be fully extinct. They're stupid animals, they're like pandas, yes, they need us, humans, helping them out, but they're fucking adorable, so do it. In the last year, more than 100 people have been arrested in Australia for deliberately lighting fires. What is wrong with the lot of you brain-dead fucking twits? Instagram, you're a piece of shit. A model who raised more than $500,000 for bushfire victims after sending fans nudes in return for donations has had her Instagram account deactivated. Over $500,000 when you're going to shut her down. I get that you don't want people selling their nudes on your website. Couldn't you make just one exception? Just this time? You've let Belle Delphine back on your platform. I get a million bloody ads saying hot sexy woman just 24 miles away in your area. You don't ever get rid of those thought bots. But you'll deactivate a woman's account when she's raised $500,000 for victims of a wildfire, of a natural disaster. Well, as we're learning, a partially unnatural disaster. And then, the king of the boomers, the absolute twonk of twit of twats, rears his ugly head, Jeremy Clarkson. Why do people still listen to this guy? He looks like he's got one foot in the grave, and yet we're still listening to him. What is going on? He's a racist fucking cunt. Australia is God's laboratory, and people were not actually meant to live there. I've suspected for some time God didn't want people to live in Australia. He created it as a continent far, far away where he could house all his experiments that had gone wrong. Accompanied with photos like this. That's not funny, bro. I'm actually missing the punchline there quite significantly. I think you're just a bit of a cunt. Like, for instance, the saltwater crocodile. He designed it, built it, then realised it was far too savage and bitey to live in, say, Milton Keynes. Or the poisonous redback spider, which likes to hide under lavatory seats so he can bite a man's penis when he sits down to do his number twos. No way could God have that living in Europe or the US. No, not our sacred lands of Europe and the US, the holy land of Jesus himself. Because as you'll see in a second, guys, all of this pisses me off to an absolute extreme degree because it takes a very religious slant. And keeps littering the post with images like this. Perhaps humans are not meant to inhabit Australia. Look at all the fire. Humans aren't meant to live here in hellfire itself. Gosh, no. Come to lovely, rainy, wet England, you stupid Australians. That's literally what he's saying in this article. He literally says that at the bottom of this article. How did it take punching his actual manager in the face for the BBC to finally sack this fucking sack of shit? Plainly, God is embarrassed because he's decided to set fire to it. It's been argued the fires raging across the country were caused by global warming or out-of-control Barbies. But when you look at the footage, you know something biblical is going on. Those things are huge. He's like the British Donald Trump. It's so wet, it's the wettest as far as water's ever been. Of course these fires are huge. It's one of the biggest fires we've ever seen. It doesn't... Skies have been turned red by the flames. Choking smoke is blanketing millions of acres. And you're taking the piss out of it, you fucking twat. Thousands of homes have been obliterated and people are dying. This has happened before in recent years and there's no doubt it will happen again. Which means people must accept that Australia isn't meant for human habitation. What the fucking shit, you fucking racist old irrelevant cunt. And my hair is just fucked. We end with some news that amuses me. I don't know how you're going to feel about it, but me, personally, I'm just amused by the whole thing. So SpaceX have sent 60 more Starlink satellites into orbit. Fucking cool. They have more satellites in space than anyone else now. They were sent up using reusable rockets. Like, one of the rockets has gone on its 4th voyage to space and back. This is the future we're living in. Anyway, astronomers are pissed off because according to them, Elon is ruining their view of the night sky. Because now when you look up, you can see these awful looking light trains flying through the sky. Look at these pictures. It looks so fucking cool. Imagine chilling out at night and watching this like train of light blink through the evening sky. It's like we're living in the future now. That it's finally happening. Hover cars and shit. They're going to be here in the next 20 years with the way drones are going. This is actually happening at last. I feel like the sights that I saw watching Gundam Wing growing up as a kid, I'm going to be able to see as an old man, and I am so looking forward to that. But astronomers are crying and complaining, and scientists the world round are bitching about it, saying there's going to be too much space junk up there and it's going to ruin our view of the night sky. I personally say bring it on. More lights up in the sky means more to look at, right? Prettier, cooler. Whiny bitches. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. As always, don't forget to smash the like button and drop me a comment, most importantly. I always love chatting to you guys in the comment. Go hit up the Discord. The link will be in the description. Go check out the one video on my other channel. And don't forget to subscribe, because if you're one of only 30% of you haven't subscribed, but if you're one of those 30% that haven't yet subscribed, if you don't subscribe, I am breaking into your room at night. I am bending you over my knee. I'm removing my belt, and I'm spanking your bottom. And I am going to be the one that enjoys it. I feel so wrong saying this stuff. Sort of. Peace. At about 5:20 p.m. on Tuesday, officers saw a... At about 5:20 p.m. on Tuesday, officers... At about 5:20 p.m. on Tuesday, officers... I can't say officers. Officers. At about 5:20 p.m. on Tuesday, officers saw... and then the sentence doesn't make sense either. The syntax is broken and I keep stumbling. This is really difficult. I will get this.